Recently, Chinese official media and military blogs have been frequently posting news about military breakthroughs, from rocket-powered mine clearance to high-speed drones, making it seem as if the Chinese military can do anything. However, looking closely at the reality behind these claims, one can't help but feel concerned about their motives and the potential consequences. Boom! The dust flies everywhere. In late June, a video of the People's Army using rockets for mine clearance exploded in popularity online. The nationalist fans were thrilled, acting as if the Chinese military was invincible. But this equipment is just a copycat version of the US M58 mine-clearing line charge system, MICLIC. It has a shorter range and less power, hardly suitable for the modern battlefield. Let's look at the data. The People's Army's weapon can only launch up to 90 meters and clear mines another 90 meters forward. The US version? It reaches 107 meters, clearing the same distance. The UK goes even further, with a launch distance of 180 meters and an astonishing clearance range of 230 meters. Not to mention the Soviet Union's technology from the late 70s, which could launch up to 500 meters and clear 90 meters each time. Compared to this, the Chinese People's Army new equipment can't even match technologies from decades ago. Ironically, they still show off this outdated product as something innovative. Let's see what real advanced mine clearance technology looks like. Israel's robo-team MTGR weighs just 8.6 kilograms and can overcome obstacles up to 35 centimeters high. Its agile robotic arm can easily lift objects weighing up to 5 kilograms and includes reconnaissance capabilities. In dangerous minefields, it can carefully inspect each suspicious object and handle small explosive devices with ease. And US technology is even more impressive. Their blade, explosion, and shrapnel protection system is like a super cleaner for minefields. Just set up a series of devices on the edge of a minefield and a single explosion creates a downward shockwave that effortlessly clears a large area of mines without damaging the surrounding environment, all controlled remotely. The Chinese rocket-powered mine clearance video and its accompanying propaganda reveal many flaws. The reports talk about mine clearance drills but provide no details about the process, leading to confusion among readers in the comment section. Meanwhile, bloggers overly praise the Chinese rocket launchers as if they were unmatched by any on Earth. It's curious, isn't it? Isn't the focus supposed to be on the Navy and Air Force with current tensions around the Taiwan Strait and South China Sea? Why suddenly is the Army's rocket artillery so sought after? Thinking about it, the naval and aerial capabilities of the People's Army might not even be sufficient for landing in Taiwan. At this time, emphasizing the Army's capabilities, especially in rocket artillery and mine clearance, seems like a hint of preparing for land warfare. If they can't conduct overseas operations, where would the battle ignite? The answer seems almost apparent. Could it be right at their own doorstep? It appears that the higher-ups have already communicated certain information to the propaganda departments, starting to emphasize the importance of the army. This hint couldn't be clearer. If conflict erupts, mainland China might very well be the main battlefield. Internet users aren't easily fooled. Seeing the short range of the rockets, the comments section quickly filled with discussions. Some people bluntly stated that such capability would hardly make a difference in modern warfare. More insightful commenters noted that the enemy could destroy these rockets with anti-tank missiles from 2 kilometers away, giving them no chance to retaliate. Some even sharply questioned, with such a short range, what could they do besides suppressing students at Tiananmen Square? These comments reflect the public's skepticism towards official propaganda. These aren't just casual remarks. They clearly show that ordinary people's insights far exceed official expectations. Despite the military's years of boasting about their equipment, the public has their own measure of truth. Even more thought-provoking are the attitudes implied in these comments. A closer look reveals a potential tendency. If a conflict truly breaks out, these citizens might prefer to guide the US forces. This is undoubtedly the last scenario the Chinese Communist Party would want to see. Let's look further into this article. The military blogger named Yijian Renshuo vehemently warns others not to treat China as a pushover. If China really isn't a pushover, why the need for such loud proclamations? Why not just start a direct conflict with the United States? This hesitant attitude might just reveal a lack of strength or preparedness. The article claims that the Chinese People's Liberation Army rocket artillery is highly efficient and precise. This is puzzling. No one has ever criticized the PLA's rocket launchers for being subpar, especially since they haven't been tested in real combat. This defensive statement in the article might subconsciously reflect a feeling of inadequacy. Considering the performance of Russian artillery on the Ukrainian battlefield, low accuracy, slow response, it seems the PLA, following in Russia's footsteps, is a bit anxious to prove the superiority of their equipment. The relationship between China's rocket artillery and Russia dates back to the 1990s. At that time, China wanted to buy the designs and technology for Russia's Tornado rocket artillery, but abandoned the plan due to high costs. Out of necessity, China bought a few BM-30 units to study independently. After nearly a decade of exploration, by almost the 21st century, China finally developed the PHL-03 rocket artillery and proudly produced thousands of units. However, this new weapon still required manual loading, a fatal weakness in modern warfare that significantly impacts combat speed. Later, the Chinese military developed the PHC-191 rocket artillery. This new model equipment first appeared in a parade in 2019, and by 2022, only about 200 units had been equipped. The idea of completely replacing the Type 03 rocket artillery within a few short years is fanciful. There are two reasons for this. First, production capability simply can't keep up. Second, most of the Type 3 units were deployed after 2010 and aren't due for retirement yet. It's likely that the Type 03 will continue to serve in the remote northwestern and southwestern regions, while the new PHC-191 units will mainly be deployed in the east. After developing the PHC-191 rocket artillery, the Chinese military began another round of boasting. They claim this rocket artillery is more advanced than America's HIMARS. Supposedly, it can fire rockets of 300 millimeters and 370 millimeters, and even tactical missiles of 750 millimeters, which ranges from 70 to 500 kilometers. Sounds impressive, right? However, these military bloggers seem to have overlooked the development history of HIMARS. The US PRSM missile can already reach 400 kilometers, and research on an extended-range version began last year, aiming for a range of 1,000 kilometers. In other words, by the time a real conflict starts, the US HIMARS could already be launching missiles over 1,000 kilometers. It seems that the Chinese military's boasting ignores the facts. Chinese military enthusiasts often revel in describing scenes of using long-range rocket artillery to scorch the earth, portraying a post-battle landscape where not a single blade of grass grows. However, such exaggerated propaganda is far from reality. Even though the Chinese military has a considerable amount of long-range rocket artillery units, the high cost of ammunition severely limits their use. Did you know how shockingly expensive these shells are? Early 300mm rockets cost 700,000 RMB each, and if they're equipped with sophisticated fuses, the price can skyrocket to over 1.1 million RMB. And those longer-range, extended versions are even more expensive. Guided 370mm rockets are no longer described as inexpensive. As for the Fire Dragon tactical missiles with a range of 480 kilometers, each could cost millions of dollars. Can such expensive weapons really be used casually? With just over 200 PHC-191 rocket artillery units and about 1,000 Type 03 units, this weaponry is hardly enough for lavish use in war. The most likely scenario is that these rocket artillery units will be used to suppress enemy fire rather than for extensive scorched earth operations. The so-called scorched earth operations discussed by military enthusiasts actually require the deployment of a large number of JDAM bombs from stealth aircraft. To achieve a decisive impact, at least 250,000 500-kilogram bombs would be needed. Looking back at the Gulf War and the Kosovo War, NATO conducted hundreds or even thousands of sorties daily, dropping bombs over relatively small areas. Consider Russia's performance in Ukraine, where tens of thousands of various missiles were fired, yet they had virtually no significant impact due to insufficient density. Let's compare the efficiency of aerial bombs and rocket artillery shells. Aerial bombs do not require rocket engines or propellants, and their load can be 40 to 70% of their total weight. A 500-pound aerial bomb typically has about half its weight in explosives. In contrast, rocket artillery shells have an explosive load that ranges from 10 to 60%. For instance, the Russian Hail rocket artillery fires the M21OF rocket shell, which has a range of 30 kilometers and a total weight of 66 kilograms, but only a modest 6.4 kilograms of it is explosive. The American M26 rocket shell of similar range does better, weighing 100 kilograms with 64 kilograms of explosives, nearly two-thirds of its weight. The Chinese PHL-89 type multiple rocket launcher fires 270mm rockets weighing 150 kilograms each, but only 40 kilograms, less than 30%, is explosives. Although using fighter jets to drop bombs is costlier, The efficiency far exceeds that of rocket artillery. From an overall efficacy standpoint, if large-scale bombing is necessary, it must rely on fighter jets dropping bombs. This represents the most powerful, cost-effective, and capable conventional weaponry available. North Korea and Iran often boast about their short-range missiles and rockets, essentially admitting to weak air forces and relying on these ground-based weapons. The situation with China's military is similar. Constantly boasting about their long-range rocket artillery indirectly acknowledges the shortcomings of their air force capabilities. In a real conflict, can Chinese Army brigade commanders be sure they have air support? With long-range rocket launch systems, at least they can have artillery battalions fire a few rockets as an emergency measure. Truly powerful nations rely on stealth aircraft deploying JDAM, precision-guided bombs. If the U.S. military were to engage with China's military, the Army tactical missiles provided to Ukraine by the U.S., which have significantly suppressed Russian long-range artillery, serve as a good reference. Look at Russia. Its missiles and rocket artillery are extensively intercepted, yet they continue to boast about their long-range artillery prowess. It's typical of underperformers to boast. Even when comparing their best weaponry, they fall short of the level the U.S. can manage with ease. Chinese long-range rocket artillery fundamentally borrows technology from Russia. The capabilities are often exaggerated, but in reality, many of the specifications might need to be halved. Range, accuracy, anti-interception capability, and explosive power are all uncertain until proven in actual combat. So, regardless of how much the CCP exaggerates, the true effectiveness of these long-range rocket artillery systems will likely only be clear in real combat scenarios. A netizen shared a video of the rocket firing mentioned in the article on a social platform, commenting, "Wow, that explosion was shocking. I've already started recruiting this year, but I don't meet the enlistment criteria. If the motherland needs, I volunteered to enter state-owned enterprises, central enterprises, tobacco, electric grid, Sinopec, and other high-benefit industries to contribute my modest effort to the country." At first glance, this netizen appears to be highly patriotic, wanting to join the military even as a woman. However, a closer examination of her words reveals a satirical overtone. The so-called modest effort for the country ironically involves entering lucrative state and central enterprises, which hardly counts as modest. Moreover, aren't these sought-after positions usually reserved for people with connections? Her comment clearly mocks the unfairness of society. Indeed, this post is a clever example of satire, where even the shocking explosion mentioned at the beginning is likely a jab at the unimpressive reality of the rocket's performance. Some netizens have understood the underlying message, with one commenting, "Setting aside whether she would actually be hired by a state-owned enterprise, her calculation is so loud that it deafens everyone. This implies that she has boldly voiced the frustrations of the ordinary people." This tweet reflects the people's insight into the Communist Party's propaganda tactics. The boasts about military strength and slogans about serving the people have long lost their persuasive power among the general populace. Once the tweet was published, the comment section filled with unspoken agreements. Everyone understands the game. They are all savvy to the truth. No matter how much the Chinese Communist Party exaggerates, it can't change the people's real opinions, as public sentiment is no longer on their side. Tweets like this clearly demonstrate the failure of CCP propaganda. They might deceive some, but they definitely can't fool everyone. The CCP continually advertises its weapons, not just to showcase military strength, but also to prepare public opinion for potential war. Although these weapons may not perform as well as advertised, the CCP is indeed preparing for conflict. Recently, military articles on the Chinese internet have become increasingly outlandish. One recent article claimed that in a recent military simulation, the Chinese Army sank a U.S. Ticonderoga-class cruiser with just 12 Fire Dragon 480 rockets, while 122 U.S. vertical launch systems failed to intercept them. Such claims are absurd and dangerously delusional. Moreover, the article stated that in a second simulation, each rocket was paired with 6 drones to draw fire, and just 2 rockets sank 2 Ticonderoga-class cruisers. Such propaganda is nothing short of fantastical. Looking at the real performance of the U.S. Aegis system, it recently helped Israel intercept an Iranian missile attack in the Mediterranean, demonstrating solid battlefield capabilities. The Aegis system can track hundreds of targets simultaneously and intercept incoming missiles hundreds of kilometers away. In April, it even successfully intercepted a missile in space. Given such an advanced system, the Chinese military's articles claims about 12 drones and 2 rockets penetrating defenses are clearly unrealistic. These hyperbolic military articles serve not just to boast, but also to stir up confrontational sentiments. The CCP military media continually praises its weapons as formidable to give ordinary people the illusion we are already so powerful that even if we go to war with the US, there's nothing to fear. This is clearly a preparation for potential conflict, a manifestation of militarism intended to distract from severe economic dissatisfaction and to maintain the CCP's authoritarian rule. However, the CCP's military preparations go beyond this. It is reportedly developing a high-speed drone that travels faster than 1.8 Mach. This drone, uniquely designed to not carry explosives, relies on a hard nose and a high speed to directly strike targets, primarily radar stations. This high-speed drone uses AI technology to identify targets without relying on satellite navigation. To train this AI system, the CCP has built numerous models, including radar and ships, at its nuclear testing base in Lop Nor, Xinjiang. This explains why satellite images frequently show destroyer models in the desert. The drone's limited range means it could strike targets within minutes of launch, clearly intended to surprise adversaries. It is developed by a military-level fusion enterprise in Shenzhen, not the well-known company DJI. The CCP is continually improving the performance of this drone, increasing its speed from 1.6 to 2.5 Mach. They also plan to network all drones for direct control by Xi Jinping. Remember the incident a while ago where China sent spy balloons across the US? It now seems that it might have been part of this system, used as a communications relay station. If this system can truly achieve remote control, then drones can scout in advance, sending real-time data back to the command center, where a supercomputer analyzes and decides which weapons to deploy. The CCP's ultimate target is reportedly U.S. aircraft carriers. Even if they can't sink them, causing significant damage might force the U.S. to return to the negotiating table. Such advanced technologies are said to be developed at the Mainland base in western Lop Nor, Xinjiang. The strategic importance of this base should not be underestimated, reportedly surpassing even Beijing's command center and comparable to the U.S. Combat Center in Colorado. If the U.S. does not consider a military conflict with China, they might need to prioritize how to deal with this base. However, we must remember that most of this information comes from media reports and public channels. The military and strategic games between nations are far more complex than we know. The CCP's military propaganda and actual military development present a complex picture. While the official media and military enthusiasts often exaggerate weapon capabilities to create a strong military image in public opinion, the CCP is indeed actively developing new weapon systems to gain an advantage in potential future conflicts. However, overly exaggerated propaganda not only fails to enhance real national defense capabilities, but might also mislead the public and even incite dangerous militaristic sentiments. Meanwhile, the public's attitude towards this propaganda shows that people are not blindly believing, but have their own judgment.